All right, guys, we're just about to get started. I'm going to play a short video to get this started. During Ed Camp, there's going to be a lot of technology. We'll be talking about these two modes. So if you're a presenter, you can take these slides if you'd like. First mode is flight mode, which means you're actively using your technology, whether it be your phones or your computers. The next one is airplane mode. You can also call it community mode, where you're really being present to each other. Presenters, make sure you're distinguishing between when you want flight mode and when you want airplane mode. So flight mode is where we're at right now. We're moving into airplane mode for the next 15 to 20 minutes, being present to each other. The house leader will use their Chromebook when we get about halfway through to do some of the brainstorming that will be collaborative on this presentation. Only the house leader will have access to that. So as you think about transitioning into airplane mode, this video here is our starter for 2014 Ed Camp. So here we go.
I would advise you to get your cameras ready.
So right now you're transitioning into airplane mode, meaning you're done with your computers, and you can have your cameras out if you like.
Oh, God.
Got follow the picture over here.
Alright, let's get back.
I thought I could make that look a little more convincing than I did. All right, here we go.
You never know who will appear as the astronaut as we move through the next one.
You purchased that thing on Amazon that said beware the reviews said beware the space wave.
Beware the space thaw.
Space thought. This guy said I'm 6'2", I would recommend it to anyone over 5'10". That's about 5'8", he gets the space thought. So here we go. Welcome to Ed Camp 2014. And this is really going to be another indicator of embracing our purple cow spirit, Thomas Nelson. Start off with the London Frank Zappa quote. Without deviation from the norm, progress is not possible. That's really what we're talking about as we start this morning's session, is how are we, or how have we already begun to deviate from the norm and challenge ourselves to fly closer and embrace the purple cow spirit. Briefly, I'm going to talk about where we've been over the past 2 years. Some of you are very familiar with this context. Some of you, this is new to you. Before Thomas Nelson opened, a lot of questioning. How's it going to happen? All of you in this room that are still here that started that process, embrace this notion that you believe it is possible. Our students believed it was possible, and it was possible. Purple Cow, very much a part of the opening year, and it still is. We have the what I know, the only purple cow in the media center in the United States. It's a real purple cow. It might be the only one in the world, thanks to some ingenious work from some initial purple cows. We were one of the first schools, we were actually the first school in the state to invent some Chromebooks. Now they're becoming widespread. We're continuing to invest in those. Our first year, we had 164 juniors. They just graduated. We set a goal of 20 in the ACT. We achieved the goal of 20 in the ACT. We didn't even think it was possible. It happened. It was possible. We continued in year 2, thinking about this notion of growth mindset, where we were going. We continued to make ourselves uncomfortable. We talked about flying close to the sun. We got hot and sweaty like the space bombs. And we talked about this notion of all hands on deck. Think about year 2, all hands on deck was a big part of the work. And thinking about how we were really moving our kids forward, not just from a testing standpoint, but from a future story standpoint. And doing that together. Everyone that was a part of Leader Prep and being involved in supports for that, that was a big risk we took. It was uncomfortable. We failed at times, we felt great at times. By the end of the year, I think we all were better off for Leader Prep, and our students were as well. At the end of the day, these 5-year plans, these 5-year stories, is what's going to define our success. We can talk about 20s, 21s, 22s, 18s, 19s. This is the indicator of our success. We align our work to those things. You're in your house teams today. You'll be working at times in your PLC teams, but this is very much about aligning the work, targeted outcomes. Last year was G21, which was kind of scary. We had to make more instructional tweaks, which was also continue to be uncomfortable. But we did it together. I think the spirit last year was very much a one of togetherness. 162 juniors took the ACT, and they didn't score a 21, which we thought was kind of like a lofty goal. We didn't really think we were going to meet it, and we did. So one of the things we're going to talk about earlier this morning is how did we get there? What are some of the things that we've done in the past that seem to deviate from the norm and helped us move ourselves and our school along? We celebrated. We celebrate this day, tomorrow, and throughout this year, regardless of our test scores, because that's part of what we do in our community. Thinking about changing lives, this is the state percentile rankings for cohorts based on different students that we have in our school. Think about growth mindset. There's nothing for me that I think is more important than the notion of progress. At the same time, if there's a flat line and we do the same work we've done, we still know that we're doing good work because of the progress we've seen internally. However, we've been fortunate to see the data continue to increase too. Changing lives. What does that look like from a data standpoint? There's 260 bodies on this screen, around about. There are 260 high schools in the state of Kentucky. Before we opened Thomas Nelson, our students on average were better than 55% of those students on average, better than 55%. So that was before we opened the school. In the first year, our juniors scored better than all but 19%. So that's in 1 year the work that you did as a group of leaders. Caring for, building relationships, investing students. By last year, our students are scoring higher than all but 8% of all students in the state of Kentucky. Think about opening doors and changing lives. That's really the type of work that you wake up every morning you're able to do. This is a significant change in trajectory. Opening doors for about 30% more students through college readiness. This is our current senior class. So, I've talked briefly about some things that we've done to deviate from the norm in terms of data. But I want us to reflect back as a group. I know some of you haven't been here. You can think about what it may look like for you. Think back as a group around what ways have we deviated from the norm that you feel were most important to our work. Each house team is going to have a list, it's going to have a slide, and each house leader has this slide, they can edit it. You're looking for the top 3 to 4 or 5 reasons that you feel that ways that we deviated from the norm over the past 2 years that you feel were important to the work that we're doing and will continue to be important to that work. So, we give you 5 minutes, play a little Thunderstruck, and as a team, you're going to be talking about ways that we deviated from the norm that you feel were important to us as a school. Okay? So here we go, rock and roll, touch base with all the house leaders.
I wouldn't.
and our expectations of the students are not accountable. Thinking your concept. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean,
A lot of schools have like an advisory, but this is actually something happens.
yeah, it's like study hall. Or here's an
Came with me.
I was wondering if that's right.
You are. Like, and
In about 30 seconds. All right. I'll see if you got anything else. All right, here we go. So this is Lafayette House. Dave, you want to talk through this quickly? One or two things you feel like summarizing what you guys see as leads of view.
Okay, just think about the culture, the idea of, we really appreciate the culture we have here, that's the second culture. A lot of these others actually tie back to culture with caring for each other, appreciation for what you are. You want to elaborate on that? Well, yeah, we talked about how all the teachers are supported and appreciated for their craft, in their own way, but having remarkably high expectations for us in the way that we present our material to the kids. But that is our art, regardless of what subject it is. And it's the way that talk about the video attitude real quick, just how we try to, not let those kids fall through, whatever it takes, we've demonstrated that. It's been talked about it. It was really solid, in his office, Hunter and everyone, there's a million other people there, really, really doing what they're saying they're going to do. And ultimately consistency. Good gift. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, a lot of things are on our list. I think that schools across the state are probably saying these words, these buzzwords, these policies surveys, reading across the curriculum. But the thing is, it's here, it's real, it's authentic, we mean it, and we actually put something behind it. It's not just what we're saying. And something that we did put up there was, we're not stagnant, we change. And that's good because it just doesn't get old. It repeats its expression. Everything is working well. We can put legal prep, our teamwork, we work together in the unit. The housework, I think that's a lot of stuff that other schools aren't doing that obviously works with our culture and the body.
Ours really focused around culture as well. We put the two one-on-one achievement coaching. I think that's something that's just kind of above and beyond. On top of leader prep, when those kids are getting to see somebody once every 2 weeks talking about 5-year plans and ACT scores, they get a one-on-one coach. I think that's something that really kind of stood out to us. And then we had data-driven decision making. Also, something we did put up there I just was thinking about, I think the group would agree, is just the encouragement to take risks and talk about being naked all the time. You guys, but
Sneaking that chocolate flying boat. I think that the hedgehog with those sense bars on it was excellent.
We have the expectations and holding students accountable where you don't just say, this is what we want, and actually making sure that each one of the students knows and they're held accountable to that. Clipboard harassment is a wonderful, wonderful thing. Basically, last year I would get lists. This kid hasn't done this, they haven't ordered caps and gowns, they're failing this class. I don't remember what all were on this list. I have all kinds of lists. And basically, I think last year, between who I had in class and who showed up on my list, I spoke to every senior except for one, Jordan Seifert. He never showed up on my list, and I didn't have. He was the only student that only senior, I never spoke to. Yeah, and I'd stand out there in the front with the clipboard, and I knew all those seniors before they walked out of this building because they were always from the. But that helped. I mean, they knew they were failing. They knew they hadn't done this, and most times they would get it taken care of. Sometimes it took 20 times chasing them in college. Strategic got to work with the non-benchmark students since the seniors get those for the math and the English, working with those to get their compass scores taken care of, and I think there's even better plans for that coming this year. There's just some portfolios middle of the year. And work with the leader prep, getting those students what they needed in order to apply for college or jobs. And again, it just gave them another person if they couldn't find Julia or they couldn't find Cindy and they had a question, they knew they had that leader prep teacher they could also turn to, just another resource. And then your culture of caring. And again, I think you'd be surprised how many times walking down through there with that clipboard that they would ask them on the list, They didn't care what list it was, but them on that list. But just where you were constantly, or at least for me, talking to them, they knew somebody cared enough to find out whether or not they were passing a course or ordered their cap and gown or had their senior pictures turned in and all that. And then with the senior salute, which was one of the examples of the things that we did, that having a sponsor that they got to bring somebody in also that cared to be there with them for that moment.
So you'll see some of this resonating when I'm going to talk about the next 5 to 10 minutes. So you think about where we're going. Going back into airplane mode for the next 5 to 10 minutes as we think about directional movement over the next few weeks as we start the school year and over the next year. So where do we go from here? Because we've had a lot of movement, a lot of growth. I think that one of the things Matt talked about, the art teachers really becoming more independently artful is part of this process that naturally is already occurring. We talked about flying close last year, and we had the jets, and we felt like we flew pretty close. We did it very comfy, a very healthy risk, and there was some discomfort, but at the end of the day, I think it was about the right amount of discomfort for us to grow. But working with Amy Herbert and Robin Handler, I realized that we had an issue. We really weren't getting close enough. And there's different layers of atmosphere that those jets didn't have it. And that's why we had to do space. And we had to defy gravity in different ways. We had to fly close to the sun in 2014. And let's be serious, space shuttle was kind of, you guys are a big deal. I'm not sure exactly what more you can say. So, this notion, there's lots out there in the exosphere I found. This notion of defying gravity is going to take all of us, and it's going to take togetherness, all hands on deck. Because there's lots of bumps and things inside those space shuttles that we just, to be honest with you, saw Matt trying to do it earlier. I think it's a good example. We have a long way to go. And we talked about goal setting, and we don't have any like, okay, let's all get together and talk about it. We don't have any structure for that necessarily. We have it for individuals. We don't necessarily have for others. We talked about G21 last year, G20 the year before. No one says, oh, G22. We could do G21.147 or G21.5. And Rhonda always has her own unique thoughts, but she's always higher than ours. And somehow she always scores higher than all of us too. So, that alone tells you a lot about goal setting. But this is thinking about where we're going. G22 is very unrealistic. G21 is unrealistic. G22 is much more than G21 for a variety of reasons. But the truth is, if we don't talk about it and have those conversations and talk to our students about it, we'll never get there. And it's not always about going up, up, up in terms of testing. It's not all about that, but it is about continuous improvement. And G22 is going to take some defying of gravity to get there. Mr. Whitehouse is going to get really uncomfortable for us to get there, but it's going to be a journey that is going to be, I think, a powerful one for all of us to continue to go on. We're going to have to change the way our students interact with and see the world in order to get there in a variety of ways. We'd like to say the ACT doesn't matter. It'd be fun. I would love to say, oh, let's make magic and do artful things and love everybody. But it wouldn't work because the rest of the world would look at us and be like, that school is really a strange school that doesn't really provide academic outcomes for kids, and we're not going to let you into our school, our college, or you're not going to be college ready in any way by the state of Kentucky measures, and you're going to pay more money for remedial courses because you think you're right. So this is a moral imperative. We can't ignore that in moral imperative. But it is not our only moral imperative. It's a key one. If Mary Bates, she has 4 classes of seniors this year. Others did not either meet the reading or writing, reading or English standards while doing this benchmarks. Those kids don't meet it, then they will not graduate college ready. They will not likely be going to college. Same with Charlotte. No pressure. Over to the Washington House there. This is us last year. Actually, this is not us last year. This is us like 2 months ago. And this is our graduating class of seniors. It's about 35% of those students that did not graduate college or career ready. Chances of them going on to college or career to be successful is less than the others. We can sit around and say, oh, they're going to be fine, they're going to be down here and there, but the likelihood of that happening is less. And that's also usually a bald spot in the back of my head. I noticed it for the first time in my life. These are students that are graduates. Some of them are not college or career ready, and some of them are not going to college. Some of them probably don't have a job right now. Some of them do. And that's our reality, is their story. Interim assessments do matter. We can say, yeah, let's forget about them. Let's just do debates and love the world and talk about how we're going to change the world and create healthy water, drinking systems for everybody. That's great. We can do that too. But we also have to realize interim assessments are crucial to our students' growth. To be data-driven is to use what we're learning from interim assessments and our daily assessments to make sure students are growing academically. But we're not. We cannot be a test prep factor because that doesn't work either. Just because you're giving more tests doesn't mean students are learning anything. So not only do we have a moral imperative to support our students with the ACT, but we have a moral imperative to support our students becoming informed and active citizens and those skills that allow them to be informed and active citizens to make them really successful community members. The reality for schools is that looks different than it did 50 years ago. Intelligence is being acquired in ways that it wasn't because everyone has access to the internet and it's changing the way we learn. This is our grandparents' schools. This is what our grandparents' schools look like. This is what our kids' schools look like in many cases. Go to your kids' schools. Grandparents, kids, 60, 70 years later. If you go and Google online high school, you'll get 1.24 billion responses. Online high school. Here's the good news. If you put it in quotes, it comes down to 967,000. That's the good news for us, right? That's our job on the line, actually. If those of you who are new to teaching, those of you who probably have 10 to 15 years left, may want to start applying to an online high school, teaching at an online high school. Because next year, instead of saying 1.24 billion, it's going to say 2.5 billion. And this will say 1.6 billion. And online high school is becoming a reality because schools aren't necessarily offering the things that matter the most to employers, to the workplace. Some students might learn more on Twitter feeds than they do in a given day at school, depending on the kid, if they're capable of independently learning. So intelligence is changing because access to information and ideas is changing. Think about these priorities for college students, priorities for high school students, very much the same. Top 5 things. They're the citizenship skills. What does it mean to be a community member? What does it mean to work together? First, that first one is our 4th focus area. There's no in there to say, can remember 20 terms for a test. There's no in there that says, can follow direction. No, there's nowhere in there that says that. But we know that's reality for most of our kids, and that's what determines the difference between A or C or an F. So, you think about this notion of citizenship, I want to call it going global, because our reality for our kids is they're going to be going global a lot faster than we have gone global, because they already are. Some of your curriculum has gone global in the past 2 years. We talk about going global at Thomas Nelson. Well, first of all, we're in these space shuttles, so we're above the Earth. We've got to look down on the Earth. So just going global makes sense. We have to embrace this notion of citizenship. It's a part of our mission that we really haven't talked that much about. We talked a lot about the first two. We didn't even talk about citizenship at graduation because we didn't have a citizenship report because we couldn't make sense of how to put it together. This is a big focus as we move into the 3rd year. What does this look like for our students when you graduate high school? By the time you graduate, what skills have you demonstrated? What do our classes look like that reinforce citizenship skills? So we talk about moral imperative. There are 4 key things that we see as global citizenry skills. The first is this is our reality. Problems we work to solve in school should make the world in some way, should contribute to the world in some way, shape, or form. Man, I know that you're thinking, well, that's not always going to work. But at the end of the day, it should be leading them somewhere, even if it's their own self-awareness and their own development. We talked about this last year. Authentic reading, writing, thinking, and speaking. Big focus area will continue to be. These 2 things go hand in hand. This notion here, you have students in Afghanistan talking to students in New York City. They're doing it through an internet connection. Those students in New York City are learning and gaining a sense of self-awareness and citizenship that I never had because I never knew what was going on and even cared about what was going on in another country because we never talked about it. We couldn't get past page 75, chapter 4. Answer questions 1 through 17. They didn't talk about this. It wasn't real. This is our reality in Google Hangouts. Click, click. You're collaborating with another group of students across the world. This looks different in every classroom, but it comes back to having questions that aren't easily answered. There's not a right answer to this. There's a good answer, there's a better answer, and there's hopefully moving towards something that's going to feel good at the end, but it's not the only answer. And lastly, and this is crucial, if you think about in-demand skills for college, the workplace, what's going on right now at your table? As we look around the room at new faces and new people and old faces that we've seen, care, empathy, and self-awareness. Who am I? How do I interact with the world? You'll see these signs start to pop up around the school. The map of our county, it'll have all the schools on it. It's going to be in the cafeteria, along with this one. It's supposed to say state, but this is a map of our state, thinking about how do we play a role in this, and this, and this. This will be in the College and Career Leadership Center. It'll also be in the cafeteria, along with these two. And it will have colleges all over our country, also some other things that we want to highlight. Maybe it's something you're doing, we'll highlight it. Something that you're collaborating with someone there. We put a picture up on the map. It's going to be big. It'll be like 6 to 8 feet wide. And then lastly, this one. This is the one that really makes us uncomfortable. This is going to be 12 by 10. It's going to be right over here on the media center wall as you walk in the door. And it's going to have the clocks above it. And this is, again, a place for us to highlight the work that's going on in our school that is interacting with the world around us. Los Angeles, Georgetown, and Rio. One of them is an outlier. Or is it? That's the question. Or is it? Because our kids are capable of doing anything that any other kids are capable of, and we're capable of as well as teachers, educators. And the expectations, we can talk about, we have high expectations. But the truth is, we think about the expectations. How many of our kids are getting 5s and 6s on the rubrics? How many kids are speaking, reading, writing, thinking, and speaking at level 5 and 6 consistently at a college and career level that they're going to walk into a workplace and be remarkable? How many of our kids are doing that? How many of our kids are we expecting to do that every day? And how many kids are we saying, you know what, you're going to be fine to still be here in the mediocre pot that is really, you're going to do just enough to get by. And we're accepting that. So what are the implications on you as a teacher? We all learn by taking these risks. You also have to be globally aware and connected in some way, shape, or form, even if that's on the national level, state level. You have to be connected to collaborate and learn. And we have to care for each other and seek solutions to our problems, because we still face many problems. 64% and 68% overall college and career ready. That means 34% or so, somewhere around there, weren't college and career ready. Is each kid there a problem? No. Each kid there has an opportunity. Each kid's a gift. We have to embrace that. And this is the end of the day. We have to be open to sharing our ideas and collaborating together. This is a great example. We faced a breaking point as a school this past year, where last year it was really myself or some other administrator or instructional coach imparting everything on you. Here it is. Here it is. You're getting PD done to you. We talked all last year about how we need to move it where you're sharing and leading PD. Leader-driven, differentiated, relevant, inspiring. That's why NCAM came to be as it is today. So this is something I want to, these next few sets are really key. Everyone here is a leader. Everyone in here, Bear is not going to solve your problem. Or Dean's not going to solve your problem. Like, you have to collaborate together to solve them. We're aligned to our focus areas, but these 2 days aren't going to feel like last 2 years where you did one thing all day long and you're like, whoo, got that done. It's not going to feel like that because it's more differentiated. People are going to be learning and pushing themselves in different ways. So it's going to feel a little more hairy at times. Like you get lots of ideas. But this is 2 days. We're going to spend the whole year coaching around our focus areas. We want to make sure that you have opportunities to grow, begin to spread your wings, and fly in different directions. Here's what ACAMP is not. It's not going to give you all the answers. You're not going to, new teachers that experience, it's not going to give you all the answers. It's not time to get caught up in how, it's time to get caught up in the belief of, okay, this is an idea I want to pursue, or we want to pursue the how. Or as a teacher. It's not going to solve all the challenges that we face. It's not even going to close. In fact, it might make more challenges for us. Make more close. And it's not going to be done. It's time to connect. It's time to learn new things. It's time to share your ideas, to celebrate each other. It's time that everyone plays a role. If you're in a station, everyone plays a role in the success of that station. Dave's not going to be the resident expert in how to create leader culture. He's facilitating that session. It's also time to connect. One tweet from this guy here impacted all these people because it was inspirational and connected an idea to all these people they cared about. What are the types of things that you should be sharing out? And we feel like this is important that you are sharing ideas. Obviously, that's your personal preference, but we talk about inspirational lines and ideas from your station, pictures, engaging questions, leader love, embracing each other. Fun picks and stations presented on there. Here's Meredith, John, and Courtney last year talking about time code. I can do that question about those as well. The students use some ideas around how hashtag fly closer to all 3-1.
You guys are going to be running the fly closer hashtag throughout EdCamp. Mike, I hope
there's all kinds of people whenever.
all right, whenever you're ready for introductions, Mike just tweeted, you know you're going to have a good day when ACBC and Frank Zappa show up in the first 15 minutes of the day. Fly closer. So be tweeting insights and all that good stuff.
So, lastly, on this is Neil Armstrong doing here. One small step from that league. All the presenters that are in here, I think half the room is presenting. And make sure, as you're showing love to your presenters, they're taking a courageous step. They spend hours, some people spend up to 8 to 10 hours preparing their session. And that's just to facilitate it. They're just trying to help facilitate it because working with teachers is especially the first time you're trying to lead something you've never prepared before. But these presenters are courageous, they're facilitators, they're teammates, they're solution seekers, they're community builders, and you're all doing that together. So thank you to all the presenters that have taken that step to share and facilitate your work. This is crucial. As we continue to grow as a school, everyone will take on the road. Everyone has things to offer. With that said, we're going to start today with where it all began. Little space race. We started with SPUD. That's our first activity in our health team.
Okay, so it's 9:08. You want to try to do this for lunch?
No, I think I do SPUD. We're gonna be on schedule all day. We're gonna be on schedule. I should have said that. EdCamp is not gonna be on schedule. We'll try our best.
Okay, let's go with the video.
Here we go.
We need to get out the 2 people you want to compete for your house in the first competition.
Oh, did you look at it? Yeah. Why didn't I do that?
Here is
2 people from your house are going to be participating in this.
And then carefully balance peanut butter with candy. Cream and with the smart and with the setting.
Okay, here's what you do. Alright, eyes on me, real quick. We gotta move. So here's what we have. We have 4 fun mix on the same bookshelf. When I say go, you and your partner when the music starts, you your partner. Okay, you get 5 straws. You're going to need 5 M&Ms. You're going to go back and fill your budget. The first team to have all 5 straws, balancing 5 M&Ms wins. Pick your 2 people. You have 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't, we stopped. There was a system and they had 3 people on their team.
So, we're running a little behind, so we will play later. We have on deck right now, keeping it real, authentic leader values every day with Barrett Travis and the Purple Cowboy. We have getting structured, have a plan with Alex Martin in the stock, and we have 7 up y'all. This is what we do. It's in Mr. Bud's room. He changed it to his room, and that is with Mr. Bud. So we're going to rock and roll right now. If you need to use the bathroom, something you can please do that.
Hey, Al, leave it.